have over 40 books to talk about in this haul today, so let's get right into it. Welcome back to another video, and today we have a gigantic book haul. I think there's like more than 35 books here, almost 40, and I've been collecting these books for this book haul for about 2.5 months ish, so you've probably seen some of these on my channel somewhere if you have watched my videos before, and I have actually read a couple of these, but here's the book haul. So starting with this box, we have the Naturals box set, and notice that I say box set but there's no box because I took these out of the box once and I can't fit them back in the box now. So yeah, this is the Naturals series. So basically this series is about a group of teens with special abilities that get recruited by the FBI to help solve serial killer cases. At first there are cold cases, but then they start overhearing the FBI talk about current serial killer cases and they start trying to solve them too. And this entire series, this is actually, I'm counting this as 5 books because there's a novella along in this. The Bad Blood, the last book, there's a novella in there which is like 100-200 pages, so I'm counting this as 5 books. Someone actually bought me the majority of these books, so you know who you are and thank you so much. But I had actually I'm realizing that I'm just going back to my childhood roots of loving mystery. Actually, we're gonna leave the books that I bought yesterday for the end of the video because some of them won't make sense of why I bought them until you get to the end of the video. So getting onto, you know what? I really hope this isn't damaged in the books being in this bag, because that would be terrible. Getting into these books, we have She's Gone by David Bell, and this is a mystery thriller about basically a girl ends up going missing on the night of homecoming, and her boyfriend and her were in a car. They found her blood, but they never found the body. He had been knocked out and he can't remember what happened, and he's trying to prove himself innocent while all the evidence is pointing towards him, and he can't even remember if he actually did it because he kind of lost his memory of that night. Next, we have We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, and I actually got this used, so there's like a bunch of spine cracks and there's water damage and everything, but as long as the words are still there, I was fine with it. This book is basically about a girl. She knows something happened to her, but she can't remember what, and so she's going back to the island that her family owns that thing happened to her on to try to figure out what exactly happened. The next book we have is The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walder, and this is just a little clean YA summer romance, and this is basically about a girl going to a summer wedding once like a year after her older sister died, and just trying to be social and not just be depressed pretty much. The next book that we have is The Giver by Lewis Lowry, and this was actually for the collab video that I did with Charlotte from Charlotte's Book Nook, and if you have not watched that video, go watch that and go watch her side of the video. Absolutely love doing that collab with her. This is basically about a boy in this city where you really have no choices and no one remembers the past. There's no history books, no nothing like that, but there's one person that's very mysterious called the Giver, and Jonas, our main character who is 12, gets assigned as the person to take on the job of the Giver, so he's now training under the Giver, and that's basically all the information you get without spoiling anything. The next book that we have is Lightlark. Every 100 years, the island of Lightlark appears for 100 days to host a deadly game, and it's basically a bunch of rulers of the kingdoms coming together on this island to fight and do this trial, and one of them has to die, and then all their curses will be lifted, and the one who wins will have like a bunch of power. So yeah, what that one's about. Next we have Love and Gelato. This is about Lena, who goes to Italy because her mom just died and she's going to live with her father for the summer, and then she ends up meeting a dude, and they end up trying to figure out what all happened when her mom was in Italy and why her mom left. And this is a little YA clean romance. The next book we have is House of Ash and Shadow by Leah Stone, and this book is actually so good, but it is so underrated. Like, I have never heard of this book until I got this book bought for me. And this is basically about a girl who has a curse that every time she gets touched, she feels the worst pain ever. But then one time when this dude is healing her father, he accidentally brushes her hand or something like that, and she doesn't feel any pain. And so she's trying to figure out what all that's about, and then she ends up going to this academy where she can control her powers, because she figures out she has powers. And it honestly sounds kind of like Shatter Me, with when someone touches them, then they feel excruciating pain. I haven't read Shatter Me because the entire thing is not clean, but that is one thing I've heard about Shatter Me, and that sounds kind of similar to that. The next book we have is Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth, and this is basically about, why do I keep saying basically? I'm saying literally the same exact words every time. This is about This is about Syra and Akos, and they grew up in enemy countries on this planet, and Akos ends up getting captured and taken to work for Syra, and then they were trying to work together to save the planet, because the Emperor, turns out he is kind of evil, of course. The next book we have is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This is a cute, clean YA high school rom-com, and this is basically Liz, our main character, Liz. She basically is trying to get her next door neighbor Wes to help her, to help set her up with her longtime crush that just moved back, Michael. And then along the way, she figures out that it might not actually be Michael that she likes. Next book is Maya in Multicolor, and I actually got this book sent to me from the publisher, and this was actually so cute. Basically, this was about a girl and a dude kind of just arguing about event planning the whole time, but I honestly really liked it. It was a college setting, and I honestly read this in one day. This is super short, so I'm sure I'll read this quickly. Spoiler alert, I've already read it, most of these books. Next book we have is The Lord of the Rings, and this is actually all of the books, and I believe there are 3 books in the series. Let me check real quick. Yeah, there's 3 books in this, so I'm counting this as 3 books. And The Lord of the Rings, I'm not exactly sure what it is about, but I'm pretty sure it's about there's these rings that you can have a lot of power with them, but they also slowly make you go insane or something like that, and they're trying to keep them safe or find them or keep them out of someone evil's hands or something like that. And I believe it is allegorical. Next book we have is Keeper of the Lost Cities, and this book is about Sophie Foster, who has been able to read minds since she was 6 years old, and she is now 12 years old, and she is about to graduate from high school, but then she ends up figuring out she's an elf and she has to leave everything behind, and memories that aren't hers keep popping up in her memory, and she's trying to figure out why. And the next books we have is the Six of Crows duology, and I have heard so much about this series. This is basically about a group of thieves that tries to keep this drug out of the hands of the Grisha, which are people that have certain powers, because it slowly makes them go insane and all that, and they're just trying to pull off this big heist, and it is from 6 different POVs, I believe, and I've heard so much about that. That is one of the most hyped up book talk books. Now getting into our hardcovers. Wow, I have a lot of hardcovers. This is actually kind of impressive. Next, hold on, I might have to clip my camera. Not my camera, I might have to clip my boop. There we go. I hope y'all can still hear me. I probably should have done that from the beginning, just clip it to my shirt. Next books we have is the Caraval Holiday Collection, and this is the sprayed edges version of all the Caraval books, and basically they just have red sprayed edges. The next book we have is A Language of Dragons by S.F. Williamson, And this book is basically, I think it was, yeah, London 1923. And basically this girl, she knows a bunch of languages, and she ends up accidentally like letting a dragon go. And she then, once the dragon gets let go, she was going to try to break her family out of prison. But then they end up finding out that it was her, and she either has to do this thing that could make all the dragons die, or all her family dies. So that's basically the premise of that. 2 books I have actually is the Prison Healer Trilogy. I do not have the 3rd one yet, but this basically is about a girl who's been in prison since she was 7 years old, and it's a fantasy. So she's been in this prison, Zalendov, that holds like that holds all the worst criminals of like these 4 kingdoms, and she became the prison healer, so like the prison doctor, at a young age, and she's basically just been healing everyone there. But then the rebel queen shows up, and she has to keep her safe, and she has to keep her alive until these elemental trials. We all love a good book with trials, let's admit it. And basically she's like, this rebel queen, she's not going to survive, so then she volunteers in the rebel queen's place, and that is the premise of that. Next book we have is Fearful by Lauren Roberts, and this is basically, if you've seen Powerless, this is basically this is Kit's perspective on everything that happens in Fearless. It's hard not to do spoilers. The next book that I have is Wings of Starlight by Alison Saft, and if you have ever watched Tinkerbell, then you would probably love this book. This is actually about the Tinkerbell fairies, and this is about Queen Clarion before she became queen. She's like about to become queen in this book, and this is about her and Mallory's backstory and everything that happened between them before the movies actually happened. And basically they end up having to work together because there's a monster harming a bunch of fairies, so they have to work together to solve that and try to save everyone from that monster. The next book we have is Legend by Marie Lu, and I also found this at my local Goodwill, and this book is basically about, I forgot their names. This is about Day and June, and Day is basically this criminal who is also known like as a sign for the rebellion. Like, he's against the Republic, which is like half of the US. And then June is like this prodigy, and she is like super smart, and she's like only 15, yet she's like that about to become a soldier and like could lead a squadron soon and everything like that. And it's based, Legend is basically about how they meet and how they change after they meet. Next up, we have 3 books I actually won in a giveaway, and I won these each in separate giveaways, but yeah. These were actually all won from the Girls Life website because they had like a whole 30 books they were giving away, and I entered every single one because literally it's free books. The first book is Stuck Up and Stupid by Andrew Rice, and if you have seen Spider-Man, the Tom Holland ones, then you know Andrew Rice is the actor for Ned's girlfriend at one point, and she wrote this book, her and her mom did, and this is a modern retelling of Pride and Prejudice in Australia, but instead of it being like rich Mr. Darcy, he's a celebrity. So yeah. Next book we have is The Otherwhere Post by Emily J. Taylor, and this book is about a girl who's always had to live under the stain of her father's name and had to change her name, and then she is apprenticing under someone to like send letters across realms, and basically they end up figuring out who she is, but then she ends up getting sent a letter saying that her father is not guilty, so she's trying to figure out how he's not guilty and what really happened. This is Mystery Royale by Caitlin Cavalancia. Sorry if I'm saying her name wrong, but this is Mystery Royale, so it's kind of fantasy meets inheritance games, and basically she's trying to win $1 million, and there's a bunch of strange things going on. She's trying to figure out who to trust, and she's like in a competition against a bunch of people. That's basically all I know about that book. Oh my goodness, this is a lot of books. This bag is officially empty, so I just threw it across there. Now, onto our box. The next book that I got, this was actually from my library. They have a little mini book sale that's like constantly going on, and they usually only have like 20 or 30 books there, but it's usually just like a bunch of random ones, and there's not usually any middle grade or YA, but I did find this middle grade book. This is called Best Night Ever, and it's about 7 middle schoolers going to a middle school dance from 7 different POVs written by 7 different authors, and they're all have different personalities and all doing different things at night. And so that's basically what that book's about, and I thought that was cool. Okay, now that interruption is over, there was just a truck that just started. But now that that's over, you can get to the last couple of books. Now, the next book that we have up, these are actually books that I found at my local Goodwill yesterday, and I was so excited to find these because I've been wanting these for, well, most of these I've been wanting for a little while, and I was just so surprised to find them. The first one we have is Opposite of Always, and basically it's a clean YA romance, of course, and this is about 2 teens who fell in love, and then the girl ends up dying, and then the boy gets stuck in a time loop of meeting her over and over again, and he's trying to fix it where she doesn't die, but then someone else close to him ends up dying instead, and so he's trying to figure out what to do. And then we have Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, and this is basically about a girl. Her mom just died, and then she sees some crazy stuff happening, and then she ends up figuring out that there's like these group of people called the Legendborn, and they basically are like the modern people of Sir Arthur's Table, or something like the Knights of Sir Arthur's Table, something like that. I'm not exactly sure because I haven't read it yet. I haven't read actually most of these, but actually I have read most of these now I think about it. But that is what that is about. I'm not honestly completely sure what that's about, but I had heard good things about it, and that was a good book, so I went ahead and got it. The next book I got is Stacy's Emergency, and this is the Babysitter's Club number 43, and this is the OG cover, and this was only 99 cents, so I had to pick this up. My mom actually has a couple of the OG covers from when she was younger, and that was like late 1980s, 1990s, and so I was so excited to find this because I've been trying to find the OG covers because I cannot find the OG covers anywhere. But these are just such cute little books about a group of girls who babysits, and of course you have a bunch of middle school drama going on. And next book we have is We Were Liars, which if you've been paying attention, you would know I already have this book in this stack somewhere, right here actually. And in case you can't tell, this version is actually way better. There's no spine cracks, there's no drawing on the inside, there's just a slight sticky residue from like a sticker right here, but I can get that off when this book is almost entirely sticky. But don't worry, before I read it, I like completely wiped it down with an alcohol wipe. But so I got this to replace that one, and I'm probably honestly going to take that to a bookstore where I can trade it in for some points. And then we have one more book, and this is a book I'm so excited for, and there's actually a funny story surrounding why I got this book. This is 5 Total Strangers by Natalie D. Richards, and this book is basically about a girl who has nowhere to go, no home for the holidays, and then someone she met on the airplane there ends up driving by and picking her up, and there's like 5 people in this car, and she's feeling it, but then it turns out people's things in this car are slowly going missing. Everyone has a bunch of secrets, and not everyone is safe, and this is a YA mystery thriller, and I'm absolutely loving thrillers lately because The Naturals was literally bringing back my mystery thriller era, and I'm loving it. But the funny story that was around this book is actually the fact that the person who bought me most of these books, she actually bought me this book not long ago. She ordered it, but then she ordered it along with like 7 other books, and then she showed me the order, and she had like just ordered it that day. And I was like, oh, that's cool, but then I sent her a picture of like 4 of the books she had ordered I already owned, and she was like, oh, so then she canceled the order and let me just pick out 8 books so that I didn't accidentally own any of them. And this is one of the ones that I forgot to put back in the cart because this looks so cool, but I ended up finding it at my local Goodwill for only $2. So I of course had to pick it up, and it actually still has the Walmart sticker. It's just marked out, and it's like crisp. Like, this thing looks brand new. So I'm so excited to read this, and I still cannot believe I've got this many books within like the past 2 months, because before this year I literally had like probably, let me think, I probably had not even 50 books, probably like 20 actual books. Actually no, I probably had 50 because I have like two 12-book series that are like the Left Behind series, so that was a lot, but this is a lot of books, so let me count how many there are real quick. Guys, I said there might be 35 books in here. There are 41 books right here. This is absolutely insane, and thank you to anyone who bought me any of these books. I am so grateful. And thank you just for supporting my love of reading. And this is just absolutely insane. And at this point, since this is such an overdue book haul video, I've actually read most of these, and I actually did end up rating most of these really high because they were just amazing. But now I guess I have to go put these back on my shelf. So that's gonna be a lot of work. Thank you so much if you made it this far in the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below if you've bought any books recently, and I will see y'all in the next one.